We have a Lowrance Elite-9 CHIRP on the bench today. Customer thinks it might be water damage. He left it on his boat a couple times, but he has a canopy and a windshield and everything. But I told him, I've seen water damage in these units. Just did one recently where I thought the thing actually was submerged in the water, but the customer clarified with me, and he said it never touched the water. It was in maybe a storm or two, but never touched the water. In any case, I did notice, just looking at this, there's some bubbling along the edges. Not as bad as the HTS 12s that I've been working on, but I do notice some slight bubbling going on. So the seal between the digitizer and the LCD might be compromised in this unit, and I'm going to tell the customer to watch out for that. Hopefully it doesn't get bad for him, but I can tell very, very slight bubbles happening. And it's funny because I've never seen that except on the 12s, and obviously it must affect other units. So we're going to go ahead and try to power this guy up. I'm assuming it's not going to power up because the customer says it doesn't power up. Plugged in power, we get zero amps being drawn, which is good. 3, 2, 1. It's powering up. We're going to let this thing boot and then give it a good test, and then we're going to tear it apart. Sometimes what happens when these things get water damage is just intermittent. I mean, sometimes they'll work, sometimes they won't. Maybe the moisture that was in it evaporated by the time it got here to the shop, or maybe there's just some underlying issue that just happens intermittently, and it just so happens it's on the bench now and it's working. So it's good that it's working, but it doesn't mean this unit doesn't have issues, because it was obviously sent here for a reason. Okay, we're booted up here. Things seems okay so far. Okay, GPS is locked on. I'm assuming this isn't, I'm not sure if the Elite-9 CHIRPs are touch or not. I suppose it's not touch. While we got this thing here, let's... Oh, and look at that. You know what? I bet that's just my connector. Yeah, it's just my parts connector. So let me put the... Or my test connector, rather, not parts connector. Let me put the actual OEM power cable on here while it's off. And I'm going to take our sonar cable. Let's connect to our sonar test rig up there, which is basically just a 10-foot piece of drain pipe capped on both ends with a skimmer transducer RTV'd on the end. So we should get a depth reading of about 10 feet, 9.9 feet I've seen, around 10. Fire this thing back up again, and we'll get right back with it. Okay, we're powered back up. Let's see, and look at that, depth is correct. 9.8. Like I said, it's a 10-foot pipe, so 9.8 is perfect. 9.9, good. Good. Okay, what I'm going to do is just wiggle this power connector. Make sure it's not... I haven't really seen many intermittent connections on the power connector itself. As far as cold solder joints and things like that, it just doesn't really happen. So, but wiggling it anyway. This one, good. Nothing. Great. Shut this thing off, and let's crack it open. All right, let's see. So far, no obvious signs of water damage. Took a look at the bottom side of the board, but what could happen is moisture gets underneath the processor, or any of these connectors. If they take in water, they could cause a no power on condition the customer described. But this thing looks super clean. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any, I don't see any issues here. What could happen is there could be a dirty power button, this contact here. I've seen that in the past. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some preventive maintenance on this guy because we don't want to send this back and then have the same thing happen to the customer again. So I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna resolder the major components that could fail. We're gonna resolder the power socket, resolder the sonar. NEMA looks fine. We're gonna clean the keypad contacts on the board. We'll probably reflow the RAM. Got to be careful because that's risky doing that. We'll check the power MOSFETs on the board. Check the caps, make sure they're good. Clean the connectors real well. Clean the LCD, and that should do it. And then we'll contact the customer. Let him know that this thing is powering on, but we went ahead and did some preventive maintenance to make sure that he doesn't have the issues in the future. And then we're going to go ahead and add some additional adhesive sealant. And I guarantee this is how water got into his board right here. And again, this is a factory thing. This is a factory issue. Check this out. That would definitely compromise the watertight seal in this unit. Look at this. It was like that when I opened it. It's supposed to be like that. That gasket material is supposed to be on top of that screw hole, and it is not right there. That could have compromised the whole seal on this. What is it, the left? No, the right side of the unit. Could have compromised the whole seal. So if he has this thing mounted flush into his boat, water running down from normal use, rain or whatever, even condensation could have made its way in there. And look, this side is on the keypad side. So it definitely makes sense if water got in there through the keypad. Could have caused a no power on condition. I bet that's what happened. So we're going to try to fix this. Little gasket material. It's going to be tricky because it has some memory at this point because it was cranked down for so long. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to give the customer a call, let them know what's going on, that we found the reason for the seal not being weatherproof. We'll let them know we're going to do some preventive maintenance, and we'll get this thing done. Okay, so we just talked to the customer. We explained what we think happened here with the seal being compromised and water getting into the keypad. So he wants us to go ahead and do that preventive maintenance on the board here. Like I said, we don't want this thing to get back to him, reinstall it on the boat, and all of a sudden, boop, nothing. So I want to prevent that. So we're going to get started. We're going to get our microscope zoomed in. We're going to reflow the processor, reflow the memory here. We're going to resolder the sockets, the large sockets. We're going to resolder the filter cap. Just clean the connectors here. Test the caps. Clean the keypad contacts. And we should be good with the board. Okay. We did all the preventive maintenance that we wanted to on the board. Now we're just going to kind of clean up these rubber contacts. They are dirty, so could have caused some problems too. We do have contact material, so we can actually repair these. Like if we get a unit in where these are just destroyed, we can sort of rebuild them and repair them. We've also retrofitted microtack switches in previous videos. We've done that in the past. If the board is just too far gone with corrosion. We have noticed also in the past this rubber keypad underneath this plastic piece. This rubber keypad tends to split right around here, which this one looks okay. Yeah, this is fine. We have noticed that those splitting there, and then water comes in through there, and it just wreaks havoc on the keypad part of the board. Those keypad contacts on the board themselves, on the board itself, just eats right away at those. Just real bad. So we're gonna finish cleaning these guys up here. Give it a good test, let the customer know it's good to go. And we're gonna get this reassembled and build out. Today is Saturday, it's around almost 1 o'clock. We got some things around the shop we got to get done, so we're hoping this is gonna be a quick one, which looks like it's turning out to be. Okay. What we're going to do here, in order to make sure that that seal, that rubber gasket, is in place when we put it back together, we're going to put just a tiny dab of hot glue. Now, we don't want to make a permanent seal or anything like that. What we want to do is just put a tiny dab just to make sure that when we put the case back together, that little piece of rubber stays where it's supposed to be. So just in fact, I'm gonna put it on the end of a Q-tip so I can control the amount of glue that comes out. Okay. Just a tiny bit. If it's not enough, we could always add a little more. Perfect. That should do it. We did all the preventive maintenance to the board already. We reflowed the processor and the memory, and mainly not the reflowing, but what we really wanted to accomplish there is getting some flux underneath that BGA chip. The reason is that'll protect it from moisture. There'll be physically flux underneath there, so there'll be no way for moisture to get in there. That was really the goal, not to necessarily reflow the chip itself, like reflow the solder balls, but really to get flux underneath that chip. We did that to both chips. We resoldered sonar, power, resoldered the filter cap. We tested the caps on the board, tested MOSFETs, resoldered the MOSFETs. Did everything we could think of that we've seen failures in the past. Any failures we've seen, we tried to go ahead and resolve those here so the customer doesn't experience them in the future. Clean the keypad, which was key. That was very important. Clean the keypad, clean the contacts, and fixing that seal. So we should be good to go now. We're going to slap this guy back together. Since we got it open, we're going to clean the case up a little bit for the customer. Some Windex. It's a lot harder to do this once it's assembled, so might as well. We try to go the extra step for the customers, and only takes us a couple extra minutes to clean up, but it does make it look nice for the customers. Good. Look at that. Much better, huh? Beautiful. Make sure we get a nice seal. Looks good. Looks good. We're going to go ahead and finish screwing all the T8 screws, put the plastic nuts on, and we're going to give it a test. Okay, so everything looks okay. We're at about 10 feet depth, which is good. We're going to clean the string, clean it up a little bit, call the customer, let them know this is all set, ready to go. Anybody has any fish finders, Lowrance, Garmin, Humminbird, or any electronic devices, go to www.rudolphrepairs.com. You can shoot us an email, rudolphrepairs@gmail.com. If you'd like, you can call 1-800-517-9101. Until next time, guys.